morning. I am Wanika Toon. This is Josie Waters and Jacob Potter, and we are Team A. We are ready to begin. Good morning, everyone. We are Team A, better known as KPW Consulting, and today we're here to present our strategic recommendations on how to improve the total health for Central Valley. Now, a few weeks ago, our organizations met and we discussed some strategic issues you were facing with your Central Valley submarket. The takeaway from this meeting was that you are facing major issues with coordination and access for patients. We took these considerations into mind, and what we did was we analyzed your market and created a strategic recommendation, identified stakeholders to participate in our strategy, as well as operationalize it and assess it from a financial standpoint. KPW has sat down and we have created a two-part strategy which engages both the short-term and the mid-term and culminates in the formation of an accountable care organization. However, before an ACO can be formed, we recommend that in the short term, you definitely cultivate the relationships within your community. This means relationships with your current members by membership outreach and better patient education. This means reaching out to other community providers within Tulare County in order to help engage the inpatient capacity for your KAISER members. This means leasing beds. In addition, we recommend reaching out to the Tulare County population at large to build the KAISER brand and build a better rapport for the KAISER name. After these relationships have been cultivated in the short term, we recommend that you leverage them to form the California Valley Accountable Care Organization, what we've deemed the CALIVALLEY ACO. Now, we decided to take a look at your market, and we decided we could better identify the opportunities that we see for you. Something that we want you to notice is that the population is largely Hispanic and Latino. This means that when discussing care, we need to take into account social determinants of health, such as socioeconomic status, language barriers, and other cultural barriers, as well as those addressed in your community health needs assessment. Another thing that we wanted to highlight is the fact that right now, KAISER represents about 15% of Tulare County's population as far as members. We see this as an opportunity for growth. Now, the median age in Tulare County is rather young. This age group of 30 years old represents individuals of prime childbearing age with increasing childbearing needs. We also wanted to draw your attention to the number of individuals on Medi-Cal and of Medicare age. They represent about 50% of your population. Traditionally, with accountable care organizations, we know that these individuals are more likely to utilize the ED for primary care services and benefit from care coordination. So for discussing shared savings, we wanted to highlight these populations. Now I want you to take a look at your service area. Look at the maps to my left and right. You'll see your Fresno Medical Center at the top of the map. Now look towards the center of the map, and you'll see your medical office building in the center of Tulare County, surrounded by several non-KAISER providers. Now, put yourself in the shoes of your KAISER plan members within Tulare County. If you had just received services, outpatient services, within the medical office building, however you needed to seek maybe specialty or inpatient care, would you go 45 minutes due north to the next closest KAISER facility, or would you go to one of the surrounding areas? Exactly. Convenience is an issue. One of the goals of the CALIVALLEY ACO is to replicate the services offered at your Fresno Medical Center and duplicate them within Tulare County by engaging those county providers in the formation of the CALIVALLEY ACO. You see that we have Kauai Delta Medical Center to the northeast of the medical office building, Sierra View District Hospital to the southeast, as well as Tulare Regional to the immediate west of the medical office building. So you may ask, why an ACO? Why is this the best model for Tulare County? Something that we wanted to address is the fact that it's a very fragmented, high cost, and competitive market. We strongly believe that the CALIVALLEY ACO would help to align the physicians and the providers within the community and provide shared incentives in the name of the patients. With the engaged physicians, we expect that there would be a strong referral network, as well as more seamless care coordination. Another aspect that we wanted to address is the diversity of care that can be offered to Tulare County residents. If we look at the providers and the strategic stakeholders which we'll be discussing, they offer a more diverse continuum of care for CALIVALLEY members. Another aspect that we wanted to highlight was the fact that the volume already exists of patients in Tulare County. So we chose an ACO to be the best model because it can mobilize the volume that already exists to create a more valuable model that's beneficial for both patients and providers. So these were the strategic stakeholders that we decided that you should engage in the Cali Valley ACO. You'll see Tulare Regional Medical Center, KAISER of course, Sierra View District Hospital, independent practice associations, as well as public payers. Now you may ask, why did we choose these individual stakeholders? If we look at Tulare Regional Medical Center, this hospital is the one that was directly west of your medical office building. In the short term, we definitely recommend utilizing the fact that this organization is financially strapped for cash. They're facing a near bankruptcy, but they're on the upturn. So they're likely looking for a strategic partner in the market. In the short term, we recommend leasing inpatient beds from Tulare Regional Medical Center to create a win-win for both organizations. KAISER would get more inpatient capacity for its patients, and Tulare would get that cash boost that it's likely looking for. Towards the mid to long term, Tulare Regional could beef up the outpatient services within Tulare County with its 5 rural health clinics that it offers throughout Tulare County. Now you may look at Sierra View District Hospital. This was the one located in southeast Tulare County and wonder, why go so far? What KPW envisions for the Cali Valley ACO is a model that extends beyond the immediate vicinity of your MOB. We also wanted to highlight the fact that Sierra View offers a broad continuum of care, such as ambulatory surgery, has a skilled nursing facility, and it also has a dialysis center. We understand that there's a high diabetic population, so we definitely see the use in this organization. We also wanted to highlight the ED extension at Sierra View that's dedicated to urgent care between the hours of 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. If we're discussing an ACO and better care coordination, we definitely want to keep patients out of the ED, so this ED extension dedicated to urgent care would be useful in keeping those patients out. Now, these independent practice associations, these would be the manpower and the workforce behind the Cali Valley ACO. By taking these individual physicians and providers within the community, we recommend that you utilize them to coordinate the care in a more seamless fashion for the Cali Valley ACO. We understand that a whole is the sum of its parts, so what we propose is bringing these individual physicians together and community providers in a seamless way. Now you ask, so we're KAISER, what's our role in the Cali Valley ACO? We understand that the concept of an ACO is not a new concept to KAISER. Therefore, we recommend that you bring not only the KAISER brand, but also the KAISER expertise to the Cali Valley ACO. This means the IT infrastructure. This means the care coordination and the quality metrics that may not be available to the other providers within the community. Finally, let's look at the public payers. So we understand that the volume of patients already exists in Tulare County in order to drive shared savings. So the role of the public payers would be to provide the volume of individuals needed to better engage shared savings. So now that we've recognized your issue and our recommendations, and we've identified the reasons that we've chosen several of the stakeholders, let's see what the Cali Valley ACO would look like from an operational standpoint.
Let's address operations. Our proposal is a two-phase strategy. In phase one, we recommend that you partner with providers as well as community health advocates to create a much more stabilized environment for KAISER members in the Central Valley area. Phase two, we recommend that you utilize or begin to develop a Cali Valley ACO. Why? What's the benefit of this proposal? Those cash outflows that you had initially that were once going to local competitors are now reduced and they remain in-house. In the case of escalating and increasing inpatient services, we transition those to an outpatient environment. You're also able to begin to develop a much more carefully coordinated plan for a patient's social, demographic, and cultural needs when you begin to address community health advocates. So one of the things I'd like for you to do when you look at this respective graphic image is, it's a representation of the Cali Valley ACO. What I'd like to do is begin with this patient perspective of the home health home, and exactly what does that mean? Because when we examine your market, there were certain things we'd like to bring to your attention. What will the Cali Valley ACO provide patients? How will the Cali Valley ACO work? How will you address cultural, social, and demographic needs of your patients? When you look at the patient experience for the Cali Valley ACO, it's an engaging environment, meaning care for a patient begins before, during, and after that cycle begins. What is the advantage of that approach? Well, let's just take a typical CALIVALLEY patient. Let's say someone who, from your community health needs assessment. There's John, who has a severe asthmatic, as well as Susan, who may be an obese diabetic. What should they expect? Well, one of the things they should expect when engaging this CALIVALLEY ACO is that there's easy access to community health resources, such as Meals on Wheels if necessary. If they need a Spanish interpreter when they engage that environment, that should be readily available. Also, practitioners, when they engage those practitioners, they should have the ability to say, I want someone who's going to address my social, cultural, as well as demographic needs. So you're able to take the patient experience and make it a fulfilling one. The next issue that you have to address is system accountability, meaning whatever the patient encounters on location A is the same thing they encounter in location B. If that means having an interpreter line in location A, you should have that for location B as well. What about innovation and care coordination? Care coordination simply means that when I engage that patient as a practitioner, I know that the services that they are provided, we are providing them, will always be based upon their needs versus just receiving a prescription and being sent home. That could mean having a discharge care coordinator, could mean having a 24-hour line at nurse advice line. Whatever is necessary for your patient to get the largest benefit of receiving care in your organization. Innovation, when that patient is engaged, we record the results, place that in the EMR. Now we're more proactive with their needs. We're able to address what they need before they arrive here, what do they need after, will they need Meals on Wheels, will they need some education literature. So we've addressed the patient needs. But the next question becomes, how will this ACO do the heavy lifting of supporting a diverse patient population? How will you go about supporting providers who have different practice methodologies as well as financial objectives? And how will you use the ACO model to reduce cost savings? We take advantage of two unique elements. The first element is leveraging KAISER's data analytics and care coordination. It already exists and it brings that large piece to the table. The other piece that we develop is taking advantage of the Central Valley Health Information Exchange. Using these two elements, what's the advantage? One, you don't have to invest in a heavy infrastructure, hardware, software, network infrastructure. Repurposing an EMR have now been erased. We're able to reduce costs. We're able to take advantage of the technology to say, who are our customers? What do they need? When do they need it? We can become more proactive versus reactive. So we're back to our model again. Now, what's the one element on an organization chart that's there but not readily apparent? If I ask you, what would you think it would be? It's very easy. It's called culture. What is the culture of the organization? You're dealing with a very diverse patient population. You're dealing with diverse providers. You're going to bring physicians together who may not always want to play in the sandbox. How do you deal with that? We operationalize your data analytics. We look at who are the people in this community who have a vested interest in making this work. That means bringing community health advocates. That means getting involved with churches or civic organizations, providers, executives from the organizations, as well as clinicians, bringing them together, finding the best method practices, as well as the social, cultural, and demographic needs of that patient environment to say what works. But it doesn't just stop there. We actually provide a feedback loop to say, let's find the best method practices that work. Those things that didn't work, we can say, let's remove those. Those things that worked well, let's make sure we implement them across the organization. The timeline. Here's what I want you to walk away with this timeline. It's a quality assessment tool. If in phase one we discover that things didn't go the way we planned, we figure out what exactly do we need to reevaluate to make this work, and then move to phase two, which is the development of the ACO. If we see we have our partners and they're not really aligned with where we want to go, or one of the partners doesn't understand the metrics, we bring that about and say, let's make the adjustment that's necessary. So you can use this tool to make sure that you don't make a financial decision that impacts the organization. And speaking of financial impact, let's address the financial issues.
Before we get into the financial implications of our recommendations, let's take an understanding of our current entities to the relationships. What we see here is we have managed care organizations at the top, followed down by our primary healthcare services, then next to our subsequent services. What we see here is that managed care organizations tend to be the intermediary between primary services and secondary services, as well as understanding that these organizations are unfortunately siloed and there's little coordination for care. What we know is that this system increases year-over-year costs, doesn't have any incentives to align physicians to increase coordination of care, and as far as our potential partner with Tulare Regional, is financially unstable. In our recommended model, something we truly consider a KAISER model, we're placing the patient through the ACO at the center of our resource flows. This model will accommodate for a long-term strategy of shared revenue and or shared liability and savings. By having the care coordination doing the heavy lifting, we think that the care coordination will reduce costs and ultimately improve outcomes. What's important to look here is that by having the CALIVALLEY ACO, it's not just a coefficient to reduce costs, but it's actually a network of providers, stakeholders, and our members to improve the coordination while lowering costs. And some of the assumptions we made for our recommended model, we have to understand that care coordination through the ACO is an actual significant cost to the organization, and this comes in the form of our planned care providers for reaching out to our community, as well as the technological costs. This is a process that will improve through time and with additional participants. Next, with our Medicare Medi-Cal members. We believe that our Medicare Advantage could increase somewhere between 10,000 to 15,000 members in Tulare County, as well as the potential of reaching out to over 85,000 members with Medi-Cal. The current provider or the current managed care organization that would be our access to these Medi-Cal members is called HealthNet as well as Anthem. We believe that HealthNet is a much more likely partner to engage in the shared savings, and we think that ultimately, because of the size of the ACO network, we'll be able to be successful in reaching shared savings with that entity. So our claims profile. There's more detail in one of our appendix slides. However, what we're trying to represent here is that though the increase in patient volume, we only have minimal increases to our patients at Kaweah Delta, as opposed to more significant increases with our partner Tulare Regional and Sierra View. More importantly, we have our increase into our outpatient count. This is important because patients are seeking outpatient service to inpatient services, so this is indicating that the ACO is more effective both on a clinical standpoint by driving patients more to appropriate centers and outpatient, but it's also more cost-effective by finding more partners that are more cost-effective facilities. In our last projection here, you can follow along in another one of the appendix with the long-term P&L. What we see is that despite having short-term and increasing costs, we have an immediate returns as of 2016 by taking on the additional volume of Medi-Cal and Medicare members. These projections will increase year over year until we anticipate that by 2020 we'll have a 4% increase to our current margin as opposed to the strategy currently employed by KAISER. This amounts to nearly $30 million. For the overall analysis of our financial projections, we feel that a break-even is the most appropriate tool. And to that end, the net present value of current cash flows versus what we projected will be break-even in 2023. Now, given the implications regarding our cost reduction strategy, our growth to inpatient volume, we feel that KAISER should strongly consider the ACO as part of its strategic objectives in the Central Valley market.
To address your issues with coordination and access to care, we've created the CALIVALLEY ACO as the best and most effective model for your Tulare County population. What we did is we analyzed your market, identified strategic stakeholders who all play a valuable part in the CALIVALLEY ACO. We operationalized the model by addressing culture, technology, patient experience. We also discussed the financial implications of the CALIVALLEY ACO. What we wanted to highlight is the fact that the CALIVALLEY ACO takes the volume that already exists in Tulare County and creates a model that's more valuable for both patients and providers. Now, we hope that we've covered all of your proposed objectives. However, if there are questions, we'd be happy to take them at this time. We are now complete.
Thank you. You did a nice job.
Thank you.
And you made it to the final, so relax.
Thank you.
If you could summarize your bed leasing strategy, just how did you think about the options for the other hospitals? You mentioned they're looking to lock in on volume, but the volume is increasing in the area. Might they be looking for other partners? Is leasing a strategy that they're likely to find attractive from KAISER, and how does that reimbursement factor in? Reimbursement of lease beds versus our own beds for KAISER.
So Tulare Regional, they currently have two increasing capacity strategies. One is this one medical office building which came online in 2014, and we know they have anticipations of bringing on another office building in around 2016. However, because of their bond rating change, that they're currently not generating enough revenues to maintain that status. So given the additional capacity coming on, we think that the volume will be there as far as Tulare's interest in leasing those beds if they're not able to fill them in their current strategy. As far as the reimbursement goes, current patients are going all the way to Fresno Medical Center, which would be our most advantageous strategy, is having those patients from a revenue standpoint. However, we know that they're most currently going to Kiowa Delta, which is almost 3 to 1 our cost structure from going to Tulare Regional. It would be significantly beneficial for us to have those patients go to Tulare either without the leasing strategy or with the leasing strategy, because our current alternative is much more expensive.
So just briefly, how does the reimbursement work for Kaiser with the leased beds versus owned beds?
We believe that it's actually almost the same, so we should be get 100% of the reimbursement in a leasing strategy because we're taking on all the additional costs through the contracts. So there'd be almost no difference, given it would be essentially a Kaiser floor within another organization.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell me a little bit about your physician manpower strategy? One of the assumptions that you made is that you're going to be able to adequately provide the specialty care that's needed and fill in some of those gaps in the community. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're going to do that?
So one of the goals of the CALIVALLEY ACO is to bring physicians together. However, when in our previous discussion, we discussed, the recruiting efforts that you were facing with the current Kaiser physicians for the medical office building. So what we decided to do when we looked at the market and we looked at the providers that were available is that we would utilize them because they do have the ties with the community as the primary resource. If that did not work and we needed more physicians to backfill, we did think of other strategies to recruit physicians, Kaiser or non, since it's for the CALIVALLEY ACO, to engage these patients.
Also to that point, we do plan on increasing the Kaiser physicians, which is accounted for in our P&L. And then additionally with our ACO, we have those incentives, and we feel that by matching up with our partners in the IPAs and understanding what kind of physicians that they need in their networks, as well as how we're forecasting this with our data analytics, we'll be able to match those up both with our partnerships as well as internally.
Thank you.
Can you talk to me about what is the thinking in trying to develop an ACO in which the Kaiser model is very defined? Some opportunities may seem restrictive and others are not. But what is that rationale, that value proposition for those independent physicians to join into an ACO model with a Kaiser? What is the benefit? And, you have a lot of non-affiliated hospitals that may come together, but with the strong brand that Kaiser does have, there may be some skepticism about what is the benefit to them to join into an organization such as that.
Well, we understand that that the Kaiser name comes with both positives and cons as far as some of our community physicians. But we think that over the long term, our central message is that quality is going to be the basis of our culture, and we're organizing our structure around increasing quality, reducing costs, and improving the clinical outcomes of our community. So that's our current primary goal, which, defining who comes into the network must be on board with that core strategy. As far as additional benefits for community physicians, we think that the shared savings aspect is something would be somewhat attractive to those physicians. We also think that because of the long-term implications of the changing nature of the way Medi-Cal and Medicare are going to be reimbursing, that being part of this ACO ahead of time will be beneficial for the overall reimbursement. Additionally, there are technological things that will be to the benefit as far as meeting Meaningful Use 2, Meaningful Use 3 standards that most smaller physicians aren't able to really grasp because of the required amount of infrastructure. So it's kind of a piecemeal item, and different practices will have different benefits for joining the ACO. We just really have to engage that provider at the right time and seeing exactly what their needs are.
And to supplement what he just said, you also have to take into consideration that we're going to provide them a health information exchange. The ACO is going to provide them a health information exchange. They don't have to repurpose their existing technology to join the ACO. And they also be able to leverage Kaiser's data analytics, which helps them better understand who their patients are, what those needs are, and they become more proactive versus reactive in their care model.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So clearly the recommendation is for us to move forward with ACO. It's a long-term solution. I'd like to understand a little bit more about your short-term recommendations. I know you talked about a marketing campaign, see here you mentioned Thrive. So can you elaborate on that a little more?
What we said in our recommendation, because we analyzed your respective market, we analyzed the providers in in that area as well as KAISER. What we said is for the short term, we were going to partner with providers in the Central Valley area because this is about access. When you boil it down, this is about access. How do we get the right people to the right people for those patients and understanding what those needs are? So what we said is, one, we're going to partner with providers, and it's not just healthcare providers, but also community advocates to make sure that when that patient sees that respective provider, their needs are taken care of once that care process is over. So the focus there is, how do we go about creating a model that's sustainable? And what we said is, A, we'll partner with providers, and when we say providers, that means the facilities as well as the independent practitioner associations, and to also address the community health needs. Financially, what we said was, okay, by doing this process, we're able, those outpatient outflows that we were seeing, the patient outflows that we were seeing earlier, now we could capture those through an outpatient, inpatient outflows that we were seeing going from the MOB. We could take those respective patients and now place them in an outpatient model. In the case of cash outflows, those were once going to local competitors. We're able to bring those in-house and reduce the cash outflows.
I also wanted to highlight the relationship issue or the relationship aspect of the short-term strategy. In order for an ACO to be even thought of or presented, relationships need to be formed, strong ties need to be formed, because that will cause dysfunction in the long term and the midterm with the Cali Valley ACO if that foundational base of a relationship is not formed. As far as engaging the Thrive campaign, we understand that it is used in order to inform and highlight what KAISER is offering to the community, so that would kind of get everyone more comfortable and get everyone on board, help to publicize the KAISER name in a positive way, and highlight the services that are offered within Tulare County. So that's how we would reach out to the community as well as build relationships with providers within the community.
So you have some challenges with a couple of populations, the elderly, geriatric. You've got a community that's not highly educated, and you've got a migrant community. Does your short-term strategy include anything to address, other than you mentioned the language, anything to address how they use the system, how to keep them out of the ED, those kinds of things?
So working with the short term, there are measures in place to address those populations. Utilizing the Thrive campaign, it's a marketing strategy so they could be reached that way. We've also mentioned the use of community care advocates. These are individuals that these migrant populations and these underserved populations are comfortable with. Even the physicians that serve them currently are who they trust. That's who they're comfortable with, which is why we recommend cultivating those meaningful relationships with not only the community, not only your members and other providers, but also with community members who can make the Cali Valley ACO flow in a more cohesive function.
And in addition to that, with CMS recently having a fee-for-service model for community, community organizers who reach out to the community and kind of help provide those services that Josie was describing, we think that KAISER should also engage in those reimbursement strategies to help employ them into the overall system.
Can you talk to me, I don't see it in your attachments, but maybe it's here. Can you talk to me a little bit about the capital requirements that you're anticipating?
So the overall funding of the ACO, if you,